The first person up is Adria Elliott. She is a writer, reader, performer. She's been so since she was a child. She has a natural knack for rhyme and verse. She's a wife and a mother. She's self-employed, divorced, and currently a student. And she's going to be telling you a Silverlinings story tonight. Adria Elliott.
Good evening, Tucson, or Club Congress. It's a little bit of a different venue than I'm used to, actually. I'm used to being in a comedy club, so bear with me. The story I have to tell about is a little bit sweet and sour. When I was in high school, I actually was out on the football field one day, and I noticed this wonderfully muscled guy run by with a big red streak of hair sticking out from under his football helmet. If I'd looked at him today, I would have thought, maybe a fag, maybe not. But back then, he was hot. I'm talking in the Breakfast Club way hot. He was jogging with his head going like this, just to make his hair wave, and he'd take his helmet off. And I thought to myself, he will be mine. Oh yes, he will be mine. But he was 2 years ahead of me in school, so, you know, I was a sophomore, he was a senior. You let it go. 4 years after high school, I'd just gotten back from being in the military, and I was singing karaoke, as everybody does when they're in college after you get out of the military. And lo and behold, there he was, sitting with one of the girls I really didn't care for from high school. And so I sauntered up and did my best Mae West and leaned over and asked him how he was. And he was like, I'm fine. He had no idea. So I lied and said one of our common friends wanted his phone number to get in touch with him, because that's what you do when you sit him sitting with the girl you really didn't like from high school. And you said, oh, he will be mine. Because I remember the red hair when it was long and flowing in the wind under the helmets. I waited the complimentary month, because you always hope that that woman will get hit by a train or a bus or a plane or an airplane or something. And then I called him and said, hey, how are you? And how's the girlfriend? And he's like, oh, we broke up. And I went, really? And then I uttered the words that I hope to God nobody ever uses as a pickup line, but I let it fly anyways. So, you like big black women? Don't hate on me, it worked. He was like, what? Like, so, you like big black women? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, really? What are you doing now? And he's like, I'm at work. I'm on the flight line. I'm like, really? You're military? He's like, yes. What time do you get off? 11:30 at night. I'm like, really? I'm up then. And we went out, and we got married 3 months later. He was a virgin. It worked out for us both nicely. They told us we would never conceive children. Never conceive children. Goes to show what doctors know. Later that year, we had our first child. When the universe wants, the universe will do. 2 years later, I thought I had the flu. We had just picked up my little cousin from Minnesota during the worst storms ever in 1999. I was wretchedly ill. And then I thought I was bleeding to death. They rushed me to the hospital and then told me that I just miscarried multiples. That is just a wonderful thing to have happen. And I'm going, really? That's just great. I didn't really know what I was going to do with triplets anyways. Sometimes the universe answers questions you don't want to ask. I wasn't really happy to have lost multiples, but then they're going to do an ultrasound. And then I felt like the Virgin Mary, which is odd because we're Jewish. I still had a baby. Yeah. But the doctor was a little bit of a schmuck, and he's like, well, the baby's 75% abrupted, and you should miscarry within 24 hours. We kept waiting. 24 became 48. 48 became 72. 72 became 3 months. I had a cerclage. I carried my son to 32 weeks. The odd thing is I had to stay in the hospital for about 6 months on, which is not fun standing on your head with a cerclage hooked up to morphine. I will never become a drug addict. He was a fighter. He was a beautiful little child inside. And the odd thing is when they want to come in to say, you know, it's time, now, they ask you, do you mind, since this is a learning hospital, if we have a doctor observe? The point they don't tell you about this is when they say, may we have a doctor observe, is at that point, they come in with the Sabar Shrine Circus car, and about 50 doctors unfold from that cart. And they come flipping out in different directions. They hang on stands and curtains, the walls, the ceiling, and they're all standing for the miracle of birth from your vagina. At the point, you don't know if you're more freaked out from the doctors, the experience, the drugs they have you on that make you flip out like the exorcist, or the fact that the miracle of birth is about to happen from you. Did I mention they have you on morphine? So, there you are with your legs spread to the world. A doctor staring down there, 50 other doctors who don't know what the hell they're doing either, staring down there, and they're telling you, by the way, the doctor that's supposed to be here left. Could you not push? And you're going, it hadn't crossed my mind to push at this point. And then all of a sudden the doctor gets there and they're like, push now! And you're going, it still hadn't crossed my mind to push at this point. And then the contractions hit because they put Pitocin in your epidural that didn't kick in, so you turn into the Wicked Witch of the West because the epidural never kicked in. Did I mention I was on morphine? So basically you're standing up in the stirrups with everybody staring at you, your head is spinning around like the exorcist, and you're looking down at them talking in tongues, which again is an epiphany because we're Jews, staring down, going, I will have you and your little sisters too. And there's only a singleton. Basically the child shot out, about hit the doctor in the forehead because by this force there's so much force that everything came out at once. The doctor doesn't like you anymore. And you painted him a new shade of colors. My son came out and you do the natural things that you do, which is go, okay, 10 fingers, check, 10 toes, check. We weren't exactly sure, so we're going, there's a penis, I have a son! I think I did it louder than his father. And then you do the normal things of, oh my God, he's got red hair like his father, oh my God. And then you notice, oh my God, he's breathing, he's breathing, he's breathing, he's 32 weeks and he's breathing. And then you do the normal things of, he's over 5 pounds, he's healthy. And then he was gone. I was too sick to go see him the first night. But by the next morning, I could go over to the NICU by myself, which was awesome. Because to see him, he was in an open air bed. He wasn't in an incubator. Most really preterm babies are in incubators. He could pull on my fingers, he could look at me, it was awesome. By day 4, he was hanging out, but I noticed he was looking a little orange, which was kind of odd, but you know, you're a mom, you worry about everything. By day 5, he was starting to look like a Georgia peach, and we were asking questions. We're like, man, what's going on here? You know, I realize I'm brown, and his dad's Ashkenaz, you know, Irish, but that's not right. By day 6, we're going, this is not right. By day 7, even the doctors were asking questions, and I was begging. I didn't want to leave that day, because I knew something was really wrong. By the time I got home, they were calling me. It seems that from day 1 to day 7, they kept ordering and then unordering the bilirubin test. But nobody had actually retaken the test. So my little son never got it. He had hyperbilirubin anemia like all of my children had had. That runs in my family. So he developed something called connectors of the brain. And this made him terminally ill. We had to make a decision. From day 7 to day 13, they tried blood transfusions, and they had even considered doing dialysis, but his bilirubin count, unfortunately, was so high, there was nothing they could do. We decided on day 13, after a CAT scan and MRIs and everything else, that the best thing to do was to release him, because he was considered clinically brain dead. My son was with us for 13 days. But in those 13 days, we learned that, you know, sometimes the universe doesn't give you what you want, but the things that you get in return are far more, infinitely better. And not to ask why they happen, but to allow the process to take its toll. We sued the hospital, not for money, but for change of policy, so that other families would never experience what we went through, and we won. I've learned since then, we were foster parents. We've seen dozens and dozens of children. And I've since been divorced, but I'm still very good friends with my husband. 2 years later, we were blessed with another child that was never supposed to happen, a daughter, Alia. And she's now 7 years old. A year later, I was trying to get my tubes tied and couldn't because little Aisha or Chaya came along. And then I no longer have children by my choice. But overall, they say that, God, if you believe in that kind of thing, or Gaia, or the power of the universe, took 7 days to make the world. It took 13 days for my son to teach me that love is given freely, and you just pass it around. And no matter how short or how long a life is, it's like a drop in the ocean, and it spreads. And children are a stewardship, not a possession. And if you're so lucky that you're able to have that stewardship for 18 years, it's such a blessing. But if you don't get to, you have a choice. You can be jaded and upset, or you can understand that it happens for a reason and be grateful for every day. And I just wanted to let you know, my 12-year-old daughter, his older sister, is here with me tonight. Her name's Ariana. And I wanted to let her know that I love her very much, and she's going to bat mitzvah next year, or next year off. Thank you so much for letting me share my son with you. Every time I get to retell his story, it helps me know that he lives on in every single breath I take, and in my memory, and in the memories of everyone. Thank you, son. Have a wonderful evening.
That was Adria Elliott, everyone. The beautiful, beautiful Silverlinings story. Thank you, Adria. Okay, everybody take a deep breath.